in this kind of spot, I'm turning myself forward. So these people are committing over here. When they do that and the rain is still active, I'm turning my vision this way and I'm still spawn camping the people that are coming out from up front. So I would recommend you not focus on this. If you did, like, if you throw a quick fizzy bomb, like if you wanted to fizzy bomb this little choke here, then like, that's not bad because it's like quick and you can turn around after. But your end goal here needs to be to turn around because these people aren't gonna, well, they shouldn't fight through the rain. And while they wait to heal up and while they wait for the rain to pass, either they're going to drop down here, which is not your responsibility, or they come back around, which you could help. But in the time that you're like still watching this, there's been so much that's happened on the other side. So like, I think you should be immediately turning your attention. These extra shots are unnecessary. These people are out of play. You can KO regardless of if you get these splats or not. Because if, okay, like if you turned around and get a pick on the person incoming with the spawn, you can turn back around and focus on these people on grates. Again, if they drop down this way, your teammates should be able to deal with it. But like, no one on your team, unless you're like expecting godlike blob, no one on your team can spawn camp over the ledge in front, and you need to be there more importantly. Like this grate play, like this thing can roll underneath. This thing has good range and can shoot through the grate. Blob is funny. I can't say anything about that. But this should not be your responsibility. This is not you at your strongest. This is not you carrying the match. You need to be hard focused forward and killing the spawn killers that are panicked that they're about to lose lead and about to lose the game. And this is how you get KO here. This video was made in part from the love and support from viewers like you. Thank you. Okay. LDE. I just wanted to check what the build was. Alright, so same thing as Heka's game. We need to think about what our role is in this game. But when I see a comp like this, I'm kind of thinking like, especially in solo queue, I'm thinking of like big play potential. So when I think big play potential, it's like, you know, like sitting on this ledge and getting picks here is like big play potential. Sitting in spots where you know people will be, depending on the certain parts of the map, you want to make sure that you're able to capitalize. Because like once this team's like stuck, they're kind of screwed. But you have decent paint. You have something you can kind of fight with. You'll have decent specials for this match, I would say. Like y'all are kind of chilling in that respect, but I don't know. If I'm you, especially in solo queue, especially at this rank, you want to play super, super, super greedy. Oh, sorry. Bad POV. This person over here probably runs this person down. So if you just throw like, I'd probably just throw fizzy bomb like down this lane. If you want to be more aggressive, like this cuts them off completely, but it does like less chip. If you want to be a little bit more greedy, you can kind of angle it so it goes into this little alcove. And it'll definitely do more damage, but it does give them an opportunity to like dip out. But I'm getting a fizzy somewhere in this area, and I'm letting my teammate go through. If this person backs up, then I'm ready to push forward. But you kind of just like sit here. Is one thing that I've learned from watching a lot of like Japanese gameplay, like either their tournaments or solo queue or whatever, from people that play machine, they do a lot of like proactive movement. Like they're just constantly moving. I don't know how to explain it. Like they hit shots, they're ready to move. They do anything, they're ready to move. They just always want to be like on the move. And they're so much more mobile. Like, and I mean, this is like, I'm sure Kyo does the same thing. But it's like top players, like they're super mobile, even on weapons that aren't like the most mobile. And that is one thing you have to worry about against their comp, is like if you stay stationary, you're going to get kind of chewed out. But if you find, you just need like one good position and one good opportunity against their team, and you can KO. So again, this is like where I talk about big play potential, is like you always have the opportunity to like KO this game. I'm always super confident in this match until the game's over that like we have a chance of winning. Another thing, just kind of like thinking about this in the early stages of the game, sometimes I think that you can probably paint a little bit more with your main weapon in spots where you don't really want to move forward instead of just throwing fizzy bombs. I would be aware of that. Like there's certain times where like maybe main weapon is better to get like this is a perfect fizzy bomb because like your teammates are fighting, that chip goes towards something that matters. So this is good. This is good. So this whole play, I don't like the way that you played after you got that initial pick. The initial pick with the fizzy and everything is great. I went too far back, I'm sorry. It's like this fizzy's chilling, this pick is chilling. They're 2 down. This is where I want you to like start looking for big play potential. And just hugging around tower with the rest of your teammates is like, this is where you have to be the head honcho. You have to be the kind of be the leader of the team. You have to lead the rest of your team to like go forward. And in this spot with 2 down and a Booyah Bomb charging, I'm immediately rushing after this person. Even if we don't get the pick, which we probably could, even if we don't get the pick, I want to take this space. I want them, I don't know if there's someone necessarily on stage, but the only other thing is a blaster, and we don't really care about not one-shot blaster in most cases, especially when you have a Booyah Bomb. So I would rather you just like go into this spot. You can take this if you want, but like you can also just like behind this glass, you can just shark this ledge and just mess them up. Because when you're at this angle over here, when you throw fizzy bombs over here, you paint a ton and you get a ton of chip. But this is where big play potential happens. You had an amazing fizzy bomb, teammates cleaned up, you had Blob being relevant for 2 seconds with their rain, and now you need to put yourself into a situation to carry this game. Because you're especially like, I hate the ideology of like, if you're in solo queue, you need to carry the game. You need to be the best player. Because like at a certain point, when you're playing in like higher level lobbies, you need to like, you don't need to be that person. You have to actually work with your teammates, and people that try to play by themselves are annoying. But when y'all are at a 4v2, you have a special ready to go. Like, let's kick it into high gear. Even if you die in a weird spot like this, your team's still chilling. You just jump back to the tower and you can just watch this ledge. Your backup plan is still you being an annoying machine player. But the best case scenario is that your team is in a spot to lock them out. And I'd rather take the risk to lock them out because y'all are in a really, really good spot. And now you're doing like the backup plan I was talking about before, where you're like watching this ledge. You're here and you never got the chance to go for the lockout play. And again, this goes back to like the whole dumb thing I was saying about being lucky or whatever, or like, you know, you have to go for hero plays when it matters. And like, this isn't a hero play necessarily, but this wins you the game. You win the game potentially. Obviously, if they don't throw a good Booyah Bomb, so on and so forth. Let's get back to the action. It's still a good pick. Like this is what you need to be doing as a machine. You get under ledges and you do ledge things. And this is a really good ledge for you to be under, especially against their comp. Especially when you get there before they do. Because if you're running up to them and they're already positioned there, then like you might get beamed by their, I can't. You get beamed by like their entire team. And you have to deal with all this annoying stuff. But if you're there first, these things are just easy kills. And that's easy pickings for you there. Honestly, that's kind of unfortunate. The play is good. I probably would have moved forward a little bit faster. I wouldn't have this hesitation simply because this person's like over here. Like this person threw a bomb and like is drawing attention. So I would use this quick distraction to just go. Me personally. But like this is like a more measured approach, and I can understand that. Where, you know, they're throwing fizzy bomb, so now I can go in. I think you can risk it a little bit. because I don't think they necessarily expect you. But the fact that they like this is such a well, actually this is a good fizzy bomb by them. But the fact that you got chipped by it and then directed by them after, like sometimes you just get outplayed and like you just have to accept it as tough. As actually a really good play by the enemy machine. I'd rather you paint, and again, this I don't play enough machine, so I could be wrong. But while you're waiting, because like you have time for the tower to get into range, so you can sit here and hit main weapon shots on the tower, which is like where machine excels. For me, if I'm sitting in this spot, I would rather get paint in this area. Like I'd rather get paint in more area with less of an opportunity to get a pick than throw a fizzy bomb and potentially look for chip on the tower. Because like if they stay on tower and the tower gets to this point and you're sitting right here, like you're chilling. You hit ZR on the tower and they either back up or they die. And I think getting paint in this area is like, this is like team synergy. You're preventing your teammates from just walking forward and dying to a machine and then the other team snowballing and they have a big play. And you know, this is like a small way for you to look out for your teammates. But like this is good. Like you play covered, you get tower pick, use sponge as cover. This is textbook solid gameplay. This fizzy bomb's good because your teammate can follow up on it. They weren't waiting for you, unfortunately. This person wasn't trying to play with you, they were trying to do hero plays themselves, which you shouldn't really be doing as a pro, but it's solo queue. Like you said, that's 2200 level play right there. If they play it a little bit slower, then you two together can have a big play potential. Because I like the awareness that they have tri-strike and you're just going to get the pick before they do anything. This is great. And even this here is great. This is a little bit risky in terms of moving too far forward. But like you get the chip here, I'm backing up. Your job has been done. But like getting on this just chip on this person is fine. But you surviving and holding their stage is way more important than either of these picks. I like the aggression initially just to back them up so you get first checkpoint for free. That's what this movement should be, in my opinion. That's what this means. Like, you taking their stage is good and you pushing farther forward is awesome. But you getting past this line, and you probably shouldn't push past this little barrier here. Your goal here is just to prevent anyone from getting into position to do anything about this first checkpoint. And that's why this pick doesn't really matter. So you end up having to waste Booyah Bomb before your teams are like even on tower. They can now threaten this, like when you're on checkpoint, the enemy team can now play the game. Versus if you had Booyah Bomb once you actually got on check and they were sitting all the way back here, then they can't play the game for the first checkpoint. When you were sitting in this spot, if you just held them off and then you were able to back up a little bit and then you threw a fizzy bomb at them, once they start trying to advance toward the first checkpoint, that's when you booyah. Your teammates are able to get onto the stage with you and you get checkpoint for free and you hold stage. You should get lead for free and maybe a bigger push depending on how your teammates play. This all goes back from you just overextending a little bit too much here and having to panic booyah. All right, anyways, back to the game. Again, positioning yourself into a good spot. I don't know if you necessarily, I don't hate this play, but I don't necessarily think you have to be as aggressive here. I don't think you need to be as forward as you, like and again, this goes back to like, you can't sit here because you'll die because you see like Machine is looking for this kind of play. But if you position yourself on this side and maybe, it might be risky to be over here. But if you're able to stay more mobile and move in different directions, like, but you're holding this stage, you can still affect what's going on here without having to jump and put yourself into a bunch of like scary positions. Yeah, I just feel like this is too risky. I think okay, that first shot is fine. I think it's unnecessary, but you know, aiming at this choke is totally fine, but like getting onto the tower, pushing past this sponge, this is kind of unnecessary. Yeah, it's good roll. I've noticed a couple of squid rolls forward that have gotten you into trouble, aka getting splatted. Oh, good chip. Bro, you are squid rolling way too much. The thing you have to think about, like, because you're squid rolling in like dangerous positions. When we talk about the line and the philosophy of the line, you're like squid rolling past the line a little bit in certain spots. And the thing with squid rolling is like it's a commitment, especially if you're gonna use your machine shot after. Like you're committing yourself past probably where you should be safely. So if you're doing these squid rolls to get more comfortable in combat, I'm fine with like feeding in solo queue so that you're comfortable squid rolling is a fair trade-off. I'm fine with that. But if you're squid rolling and conditioning yourself to squid roll every time that you want to take a fight forward, then that's a bad habit we need to break. Yeah, these are spots where I'd rather you like substrafe. There's a lot of spots where you're able to like just like you're being mobile, but there's too much of a commitment with the squid roll in a lot of spots. And I don't want you committing forward into like dangerous spots potentially. Even in spots where you don't get punished, it's still scary. Anyways, but yeah, just be mindful. If it's something that you're consistently doing and it's starting to become a bad habit, just be more mindful. I think Booyah's fine. You kind of have to trust your team to push with the Booyah, which is, again, always a little bit scary in solo queue, but they went with it and y'all took stage, so we're chilling. Again, you'll get Booyah Bomb back. This is the same thing I was talking about with Heka. You're down by a lot. It's okay to use the early Booyah, even if it's not optimal, because by the time you get to this checkpoint, you'll have it up again, and you're proving me right if you stay alive for long enough. So like that Booyah Bomb, even though you didn't have like the perfect target in mind, is totally fine. You used it in a smart spot, your teammates pushed with it, and you took control. So kudos, kudos, kudos. Oh, your teammate's kind of going crazy. Okay. Wait, were you going for a pick there, or were you trying to splat the, were you trying to splat the... Like during this play? Were you going for the wave break, or were you trying to get a pick? Because that person jumps. What's the name? Perfect, perfect. Because as a really good splat, I was not necessarily tracking that person. You have better vision than me, but it looks like you're trying to take a lot of shots on wave breaker, and against their like if your goal was to break the wave breaker, A, it doesn't really matter yet with where the tower is, and B, you're gonna get yourself splatted against like their team. So be careful with that kind of play that close forward. It worked out, but dangerous. Again, chilling, the spot you're chilling now is fine because you can, like, you have paint, you can move in any directions, and if someone drops like that, you get a free pick. Prove me right. You have another Booyah Bomb before you even take lead. So, awesome. Bro's cooking a little bit. Wait a minute. Yo, Blob going huge right now. What a rain. This rain, unironically, is so good. Y'all should take lead. If y'all don't take lead, I'm crying. Okay. Okay, we've lost the plot. There's so much going on. Okay. Okay. You see both of them commit over there. You see both commit. In this kind of spot, I'm turning myself forward. So these people are committing over here. When they do that and the rain is still active, I'm turning my vision this way and I'm still spawn camping the people that are coming out from up front. So I would recommend you not focus on this. If you did, like, if you throw a quick fizzy bomb, like if you wanted to fizzy bomb this little choke here, then like, that's not bad because it's like quick and you can turn around after. But your end goal here needs to be the turnaround because these people aren't gonna, well, they shouldn't fight through the rain. And while they wait to heal up and while they wait for the rain to pass, either they're going to drop down here, which is not your responsibility, or they come back around which you could help, but in the time that you're like still watching this, there's been so much that's happened on the other side. So like I think you should be immediately turning your attention. These extra shots are unnecessary. These people are out of play. You can KO regardless of if you get these splats or not. Because if you turned around and get a pick on the person incoming with the spawn, you can turn back around and focus on these people on grates. Again, if they drop down this way, your teammates should be able to deal with it. But like, no one on your team, unless you're like expecting godlike blob, no one on your team can spawn camp over the ledge in front, and you need to be there more importantly. Like this great play, like this thing can roll underneath. This thing has good range and can shoot to the grate. Blob is funny. I can't say anything about that. But this should not be your responsibility. This is not you at your strongest. This is not you carrying the match. You need to be hard focused forward and killing the spawn killers that are panicked that they're about to lose lead and about to lose the game. And this is how you get KO here. But you've wasted a bunch of time. The enemy team that can affect tower and can do stuff, they're affecting tower and doing stuff. Because realistically, if you're fighting these people when they were dropping off the ledge, like you get those picks for free. And you're super chilling. And that's why this play kind of falls apart. Which I'll still have a good advantage, but this should have been like a clean KO, basically. You end it. The thrilling conclusion. Is this then? Okay. I actually like that play a lot. I like baiting the tower and getting picks. Because even if you get the KO or not, like you're still in a comfortable position and there's only a minute left. So that was a good end thing. So kind of a similar thing to Heka, but I think this is even more important for you, is understanding what your role is as a machine, what it is and what it isn't. And in the context of this solo queue game, you also need to be thinking about the big play. There were spots. So like that opening play is what I go to specifically. Y'all have a 4v2, you're sitting right here. I want you to immediately take this space. I want you to camp this ledge, like you did later on, where like you sat in this kind of spot and zone them off of this area. I wanted you to be doing that before. Because yeah, like you end up just kind of doing nothing in mid for a while. And you end up doing like the backup plan, which is this ledge, which is still really strong. You get the pick, and then you like you get this pick, and then you move forward this way, but you could have done this faster. And I want you to take those kinds of risk because this play after isn't always guaranteed. So understanding where you can be involved and make those bigger plays. And when you do go for those plays, try not to overcommit, which a lot of times you're doing with like your forward squid rolls. When to paint versus when to go for chip as a machine. Usually this is going to be on defense. Like there were spots where you're sitting in this area and I'd rather you get paint. Like I'd rather you paint this area than just throw a random bomb to chip where like you're and like, because if you throw the bomb, even if you do chip people, realistically you shouldn't get a kill. And the other thing is like your teammates were either like still coming in from spawn or they were like over here. I don't remember exactly where they were positioned, but they were not like this person's going to fully heal before you can do anything with that. This is how you can make an impact and prevent your feeder teammates from feeding. So the last thing I would say, which this is like only on defense, but don't overcommit. And that kind of goes back. It's not like I think it's less like don't squid roll forward, although that is like a minor mechanic thing that I think you're over relying on, but I think it's like top of your brain, which is why you're doing it so much. But don't overextend. Think of like that line. Understand where you need to be. And like you were positioning yourself into really good spots. Like on defense, you were like when tower was like in this spot, you were sitting here. And I mean, like your positioning is always really strong, but sometimes you like just you overextend a little bit, and you have to understand what the reward is for doing that. In this spot, you're effectively holding this entire zone while your team is still moving tower to the first checkpoint and getting first checkpoint, and like your team is still all in mid. So like the fact that you can hold this by yourself is massive. But you end up moving a little bit too far forward to like over aggress on these two people for picks. And there's just like a ripple effect on it. If you end up dying in this spot, these people, like it goes back to the timing window. The people that are up here are going to take stage before your teammates are in a position to take stage. Because like when those two people, when tower was like on this checkpoint or like getting into this checkpoint, like your big play isn't getting these picks. Your big play is holding this wall and sitting right here. And when the silly blaster comes in to jump at the tower and start blasting the tower, because that's what blasters do, I want you to be in position to immediately beam them and immediately get those splats. I want you to splat the people over here. This is what you want. This doesn't matter. Or if it does matter, you get to accomplish, like you get to do this first, and then you can come back around, and once the rain's gone, you can do this second. Like that's part of the reason why rain is really strong, because it holds down an area for really long, and you can use that time to do other things. The way this game felt, your two other aggressive weapons weren't moving away from mid. Yeah, you overcompensated, which is, I can understand the thought process, but like you almost have to like undercompensate, you know, in order for them to, because if they're not compensating, it doesn't necessarily mean that, like you shouldn't give up on them entirely, where it's like, okay, we don't have two people being aggressive, so I have to be as aggressive as two people. That isn't the way you want to think about it. You want to put yourself in spots and put your team in spots to where the other people can contribute. And if you think about that game-winning push, it's like if this is their choke or whatever, and this is stage, and this is their ramp going up into their spawn or whatever, it's like you threw a booyah bomb into this area, and you covered this area, and like your teammates were in mid, and they actually pushed in, and y'all took stage for free, and that led to the push. All because you had a good booyah bomb, and you put your teammates in a spot to succeed, and they actually like did it. So you don't want to give up on teammates completely if they're playing suboptimal, because that'll get you into trouble, and that requires you to play perfect. Sometimes you have to slow down and play a little bit suboptimal as well, so you can actually make plays with your team.